They said no one really knew where Jeff came from, but everyone in the town of Hollow Creek had heard his name whispered in the dark, passed around like a curse parents used to frighten children into obedience. "If you wander into the woods after dark, Jeff will find you," they'd say, their voices hushed but eyes gleaming with a mixture of fear and superstition. For decades, his story had circulated, changing with every retelling, growing larger, stranger, and more terrifying. Some claimed Jeff had once been a man, a wanderer who disappeared into the wilderness only to return with a face no longer human. Others swore he was never alive at all but rather a shadow born of guilt and grief, summoned by the sins of the town itself. No one could agree on the details, but they all agreed on one thing: if you saw Jeff, it was already too late. Most dismissed it as folklore, campfire entertainment, nothing more than a story designed to scare outsiders away. But deep down, everyone who lived there knew there was something in the forest, something that made the wind howl too loudly, something that bent the trees into unnatural shapes, something that made animals scatter for no reason. And as the years passed, the legend only grew stronger, until one night when a group of teenagers decided they would test it for themselves, unaware that what they were about to awaken would. The group consisted of 5 friends, restless and eager to challenge the town's biggest taboo. Marcus, the self-proclaimed leader, carried a flashlight that barely cut through the mist. Emily, nervous but curious, clutched her camera, determined to capture evidence once and for all. Sarah, skeptical and sharp-tongued, rolled her eyes at every creak in the trees. David, quiet and observant, kept glancing back as though expecting something to follow them. And then there was Liam, who had heard the most about Jeff from his grandfather, who used to mutter warnings that never quite made sense. "Don't look him in the eyes," he'd say. "Don't answer if he calls your name." The friends laughed it off as superstition, yet Liam could never quite shake the unease that grew in his stomach the deeper they ventured into the woods. Branches snapped beneath their feet, the moonlight barely piercing through the canopy above. Every shadow seemed to stretch unnaturally, bending toward them, reaching. The others joked and teased, their bravado holding strong, but Liam could feel something watching, something patient, something old. He wanted to turn back, to convince them all this was a mistake, but then Marcus spotted a clearing ahead, one that looked strangely out of place, almost as if it had been waiting for them, and that was when they noticed in the center of the clearing stood a crooked wooden sign, weathered and splintered, its words barely legible under the pale glow of the